Kitco News special coverage of the Rule Symposium, Natural Resource Investing, is brought to you by G Mining Ventures.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy Szafron. This is Kitco News. Welcome back to the coverage here at Boca Raton. We're at the Rick Rule Symposium, where it is just a fantastic room filled with investors and companies in the precious metal space and in commodities from across the world. Now, our next guest, Keith Neumeyer, you're going to know him. He's no stranger to the Kitco audience. Of course, Keith is the CEO of First Majestic Silver, also has his hands in a lot more than just that, which we'll talk about. Keith, welcome back to Kitco.
Well, it's great seeing you again. Thank you.
Let's chat about silver. I don't want to forecast on the prices. Of course, it's a little bit difficult as a CEO, but let's talk about that $30 resistance level, what you see is next in terms of, this commodity cycle. Where are we in it, Keith?
Well, it's nice to see $30, of course, and the last time we saw silver run to 30, there was, you had the chairman of the CFTC on CNBC or MSNBC or whatever it was, saying, "Oh, we successfully tamped down the market." And I'm going, like, what the heck? Like, why is the regulators worried about $30 silver? And we saw $30 silver pretty quickly this last run. We went from 23, 24, 25 to 30 in a matter of a month, and it's held up quite nicely. Today is not a great day, as we know, but it's still got a 30 in front of it. Yeah. I'm excited about it. For us, it's a big difference. The margins on our metal, is substantial now, and I'm looking for higher prices still.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about this. Of course, we know the dual usage of silver, of course, the industrial, then we got the currency, but talk to me about why it's being manipulated. Talk to me about what you think is happening with the prices there in terms of the macro environment. I mean, there's a lot of things to play here.
I just think because it's such an industrial metal, and people look at silver as a poor man's gold, which it's not. Silver is not gold. Silver is a commodity, a strategic commodity that we need as a human race to accomplish all the things that we're wanting to do. Electronics, solar panels, nuclear plants, and you name it. Everything that we do, construct, requires some component of silver. And it's not that well understood. And I think, you got these big trading desks at these banks that are just used to seeing a certain number associated with a certain commodity or instrument or stock or whatever. And when the price gets to a range, the bottom end or the top end of that range, they become buyers or they become sellers. And there's nothing beyond that. These traders that work, and I used to be a trader on the floor years ago in the 80s, and I worked for 3 national banks myself. And look, I know how it is. And these guys just, think of it just as a number on a screen. They don't actually realize, hey, look, this is an important metal, and it should not be trading at these prices. It should be trading at a much higher price. And that, it is coming around because, you saw in the last couple of weeks, the short position was increasing a little bit. So I'm not at all surprised to see the knockdown today, but the shorts are not as aggressive today as they were a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yet there's rumors about a supply and demand deficit. I mean, we have a little bit of a crunch. Yeah. I mean, TD Securities thinks in 2 years that depletion is going to be here. We know that it's not only strategic for countries across the world, but also for companies to produce more silver. So where are we at? Are we behind here?
Tomorrow we're at the Rick Rule conference, as your listeners are aware, and I have a presentation tomorrow talking about the supply and demand fundamentals of silver, and we're in a 4-year deficit now. And these deficits are growing. This is not 50,000 ounces or 5. This is 240 million ounces of silver deficit, and that number is climbing every single year. And in a sector where the mining sector only produces 850 million ounces a year, and you're in a 240 million deficit. Like, how does that work? Yeah. No wonder why we have a $30 silver. We remind you, it probably should be 50 or 60 or 70 at these deficit numbers.
Well, that's my kind of question. I mean, it's so essential for this whole green revolution as we're talking about. I mean, when is the retail audience going to wake up and understand you need this?
I think the institutional audience is really the one that really has to make that call. The retail investors, are there. At this conference, we see them all the time. Through our mint, we have our own mint that we just opened up as well. We sell a lot of silver to retail buyers. It's really the institutions that are void from this marketplace, and it's quite shocking. When you have the Canadian pension plan, that isn't not required to own any, publicly traded equities in Canada, don't invest in the mining sector, which they should. These big institutions who, should be supporting this sector for extractive purposes, because we need these metals, yet they're void. They're not in this market at all.
When we think about, First Majestic, obviously we think about Mexico. I'm kind of curious, we have a new president in Mexico. AMLO, quite close to him, similar maybe, some politics. We're not quite sure in terms of what the regulations look like on the mining side. Talk to me about any issues coming up. What's your take here?
Well, it's a bit of a guessing game right now. The elections just occurred on June 2nd, and the handover's in October of this year. There's a lot of speculation going on, some positive, some not too positive. So, we're optimistic. We think it's going to be a better administration for mining, for the extractive industries. The current government has been, somewhat, I hate to say anti-foreign investment, but it almost feels that way in a sense. This new president that's coming in, first female president of Mexico, which is quite a phenomenon in itself. But we're hearing good things. She's well educated. We think that she likes business, wants the foreign investment in Mexico. So we're optimistic.
Yeah, great. When we think of ROI, I was thinking about Rick Rule on stage this morning. He's saying, listen, when I go into a company, a junior or anything, I think 10 years out, maybe 5 years out. When do we start looking at the stock charts every day and trying to see what this volatility is every day? When did we start thinking about it in that terms, as opposed to, okay, we got to give these guys a runway of a few years to operate?
We have to get back to that. I think we're getting into another major bull market in commodities, and then led by gold, and silver's now popping its head up, and if you go back to 2000. The Nasdaq hit 5,000 in March of 2000, and it went to 800. Over the next 3 years, dropping 80%. During that period of time, when I put First Majestic together back in 2002, and we just celebrated our 20th anniversary last September, which is great. But nevertheless, gold was at $240 an ounce, silver was $5. And by 2011, we had virtually $1,900 gold and almost $50 silver. Yeah. So, but then it ended, and we've been in this bear market since 2011 all the way to, I'd probably put a pin in the wall maybe 2021, because from 2016 to 2021 it was very volatile. It was just this up and down action where the institutions got scared away from the market, because you just you'd buy, and the next thing you know you're offside and you have to sell, and it was chaotic. But now I think we've got some stability. The upside I think is pretty obvious. I think there's a lot more funds, institutions starting to look at this space. We're feeling it ourselves, and I think we just need to get some big money financing the mining sector, and I think it will happen. There's enough voices out there that are talking about what we're going to do. Like, how are we going to achieve all the things we're going to achieve? To build a nuclear plant, how much silver is in that thing? There's a lot of silver in a nuclear plant, right? So,
talk to me a little bit about M&A. What are you thinking when you're just talking about the cost of capital. It's been very expensive. We're seeing evaluations of a lot of the juniors. It's, sad levels. Is this the time to go and just pick them up? Is that what's happening? What do you think?
Well, when I put First Mining Gold together, back in 2015, we were buying ounces in the ground for sub $10 an ounce, which, I thought was just phenomenal. We went into a small rally after that, and but today we're back at those same levels. For a company like First Majestic, we have our toeholds in a couple of juniors, and we just actually put some money into one recently that's trying to get the Ligatera mine back up and running that they bought from us. So we'll help out if we think it makes sense. But we have an M&A team that scour the space. We have databases. We were collecting information on a regular basis of anyone that remotely is touching silver. And I think we know a lot about the silver space, probably more than a lot of companies do. And when it comes to M&A, I can't give you names, obviously. But we've got our list, and I built this business by doing M&A. and that's not going to stop.
Has that due diligence changed with these higher prices? I mean, margins are being a little bit crunched down in some respects. What's changed there?
Well, we're not going to run numbers at $30 silver. It's maybe if silver gets up to 40 or something, we might consider that. But we have to be somewhat conservative, because when we buy a mine, depending if it's operating or not, if it's already operating, then great. But you need a 10-year payback period, basically. So you run your numbers at conservative levels, and if it works, great. But it's not easy.
Now, listen, you got your hand in a few other deals. I know that, and a few other companies. You've been one of the insiders when a lot of these stocks are going down. I can look at the reports. I know that you're buying those dips. Talk to me about how important those investors are. I mean, you're sitting at a show like this. I've seen you at luncheons. You like to mingle. How hard was that couple of years? Few years?
Well, getting criticized for, my triple digits silver call, I'm kind of used to that. And because I did that 10 years ago, and I've been laughed at quite a lot as a result of that. Now at $30 silver, maybe, people are waking up to the fact that it actually might happen. Let's knock wood and hopefully it does, at least in our lifetimes. But look, I think we're in another bull market. I'm super bullish on copper, uranium, silver, gold. It's really time for investors to really look at the space and go for pick some good companies. And there's lots of good companies at this conference, and people should be looking at it seriously.
Yeah, well said. Before I let you go, we're looking at that divergence of gold-silver ratio. Does it even matter anymore? I mean, have they just kind of?
I think it matters. Because I look at the mining ratio. That to me is the most important. Because I can't, for the life of me, figure out why the metal prices trade where they trade when the mining ratio is so much different. Because they should trade at the mining ratio. And we're mining 9 to 1 approximately. Silver, for every 1 ounce of gold, 9 ounces of silver. So if you divide the gold price by 9, that should be your silver price. Right. And if anyone has any other logic around it, then let me know.
So maybe triple digits again. We won't say it here. Keith, appreciate coming on the show. Thank you for your time. I'm Jeremy Szafron for all of us at Kitco News. Of course, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. We're going to have great content coming all week from Boca Raton. Stay tuned.
Kitco News special coverage of the Rule Symposium, Natural Resource Investing, is brought to you by G Mining Ventures.